I feel like this thing is going to murder me in my sleep if I buy it. Okay, so when you think of the 2024 election, what issues are most important to you?
So for mine, I coach girls sports, and to see that girls are losing. And what I mean by losing is girls are working out just as hard as men. And when they sit there and they work 4 a.m, 12, 3, 4, they have all these practices, and then they're cut because somebody comes up who was not born a woman, who has different body type. Like,
what the fuck? Does that happen wherever you're from? Has anybody ever heard? Yes, they are good. Vanna. Be my. What did Pinhead always say? Suffering. I forget what he says. Fuck, what does Pinhead say? I forget Pinhead's catchphrase.
a woman and comes in and beats them, that's not fair.
Do you work for a high school?
I do. I work in high school.
It's just a common thing that happens?
Right now, no. And honestly, if you ask any of the girls, I'm very okay with anyone. If they come up, I will never judge you.
Yeah.
But I do have to look at the protection for the girls. I mean, I tore my ACL against playing.
Never happened. Never been a problem, but I'm super against it, but I'm also for them.
Against a boy. And I played my whole life. At 30 years old, I finally tore my ACL because somebody was just a little too rough for me. And I'm a bigger person.
Yeah.
If I can't do it, what about the weaker?
Can I ask you some questions to get to the root of your... So, okay, if there's an 18-year-old who goes to the doctor and they want to get gender-affirming care, do you think that should be okay? That should be okay for them?
At 18, you are an adult. You make your own choices. Should I be paying for it? I don't believe so, because even as a woman, if I wanted to get something, for example, a breast reduction, they don't cover it. Braces for my son aren't even covered. I have to fight for braces. So if I have to fight for that, I don't think it should just be anything else should be given.
That's fair. 'Cause I think conservatives should be for limited government, and sometimes it scares me when I hear people say that the government should be able to step in and stop people from getting some sort of treatment. So let me frame it differently. What if you have a 16-year-old kid who's been through therapy for 4 years since the age 12, and there's a board of doctors, psychiatrists, people like that saying, hey, we think the next step is gender-affirming care in the form of dressing differently or taking some sort of... Do you think the government should be able to step in and stop that, or is that also... If there's a consensus from doctors?
So if there's a doctor, I think it's also the parenting. I think that's the problem.
Between the parent, doctor, and kid.
So I'm a single mom of 3, and even with my son right now, I just took him out of public school because of things that are said to him. And my biggest thing right now is, where are the parents? My son was given a book that I didn't know about. He told me about it, and I said, well, that's a little not, you're in 8th grade. I don't understand. 9th, 10th, okay.
Like a sex ed type book?
Oh, he learned about a lot about women and men, and I questioned it, and the teacher kind of was offended, saw that my son's grade went down a little, questioned it. She did call me on the next book, but lied to me about it. So I think parents have to step in. Parents should still be allowed to parent. Also, I don't like schools not telling them. They're not.
Parents should be keeping only one book should be allowed to be taught in schools. Only one book. Only one book. The suffering, the sweet, sweet suffering. That's what I was thinking. The suffering, the sweet, sweet suffering. What were they called? Like Cenobites or like Sinobites? What were they called in those movies? Sinobites? God damn, I forget what they were called. Oh no, the kids are reading too much biology. Yeah, that's the only book you're allowed to read. Did I not make that clear? You're only allowed one book. Schools should only be allowed to read one book. That's it. No, Richards. Yeah, it's Cenobites. Yeah, that was fucking Cenobites. Yeah, that was something. Yes, Cenobites. Like, what the hell? That was Clive Barker, right? He's so good.
Taking the consequence.
That's fair. So you agree with the idea that a decision should be in between the doctor, the parents, and the kid. Like, the government should be able to step in, because, like, then what can you do next? What if some kid goes to the doctor and they want ADHD medication, like Adderall or Vyvanse, and somebody's like, hey, I don't agree with that. Then the government starts to take that away. It's a slippery slope, in my opinion. So, okay, so you're okay with, like, that 16-year-old after therapy. Interesting. So then when it comes to transports, I think this is an issue that sometimes liberals sort of get lost on. So what is your overall view? If you have...
Sure. So this is funny. I'm actually one of the only Republicans in my family. And we all agree that this is not okay. So I think that's also what's being mistook. Not all Democrats agree with it. Why? They have daughters. They have nieces. They understand the difference of it. Again, somebody like me, I'm taller, I'm bigger. I can do it. But what about the ones, they say mediocre boys can play down to women. Well, what happens with the mediocre girls? They have nowhere to go. So you're just pushing them and pushing them. We can choose if we want to play. I had to choose if I wanted to play with the boys team, and I said no because I knew I was going to get my butt kicked.
You think there's a difference
Don't be
between
mediocre.
somebody who transitioned after puberty playing a professional sport and therefore they have more lung capacity, they have thicker bones, they'll most of the time have a larger wingspan? Do you think there's a difference between that and somebody who transitioned before puberty who lacks those things playing in sports? Could you differentiate those two? Like the former shouldn't be able to, but the latter, since you did it before puberty.
So here's my thing. Even if you're younger, you're training. My son's right now, my middle is 10, but he's still training. So even if he was a girl transitioning, a boy transitioning, they're going to learn the difference of their body. You're getting stronger. So they're going to learn. Here's the thing. When you're younger, you already know how to dribble a ball. Well, now you're going to dribble the ball and you're going to have it stronger. You're going to be better. It's just, it doesn't matter when it happens. I would march for this. I have a shirt right now that says I protect kids. People ask me about it all the time. And I said, I work for a school district. Any person who comes up to me, any child, any teen who comes up to me, I will sit there and say, do you want my honest answer? And guess what? I've seen more results when you sit there and have a nice conversation. It's like, you should just do it.
But do you really think kids are transitioning en masse or en masse like some conservatives will say? Because even you admitted that in your high school it doesn't happen that often. So you know how the left sometimes
She said it has never happened.
is blind about trans sports. I feel like in that same vein, on the right, you'll see people overblowing it. Like, you know Matt Walsh, have you ever heard of him?
Yes.
He said there were millions and millions of kids on puberty blockers, and when they fact checked it, it was like 800, which you can disagree with that. But can you see that there's a problem on the right too with overblowing?
Yes, and I do. So I am Republican, but I also was a Democrat first, and then I went independent. The only reason I switched Republican is because I hate not voting, and I always wanted to vote primaries. This is honestly, when people ask me, military, we were a military family, but this is my issue. So my biggest thing is, you know what? You still have to remember that these kids are going to be adults. They might feel different. You know what? Just give them the right key. So when I say that is give them the key that's going to succeed. Give them the key to the right door. Because if you sit there and say, no, 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 they might be that kid who's going to grow up confused. Because you have to remember, they're getting pressure from everyone. My question is, which teacher do they have? Which principal they have? What's their counselor like? My son's school, we had one counselor who had every flag up in the world, one counselor who didn't. My son had that counselor, and he said, I don't feel comfortable. I just feel like it's not coming to me. When he went to that other counselor, his grades went up because he had somebody who just saw him as a student, not as a white boy or a Republican boy or anything.
Do you think there's a use for a more inclusive counselor though? Because like I know some people who grew up their whole lives being told don't be gay, no matter what, please do not be gay. And then when they find out they're gay, they have no outlet. They have no ability to because they feel trapped in their family. So maybe a counselor like that could help.
So I think what we have to think about is a counselor to me is like in the school, like a jury. So when you sit there and pick a jury, you want somebody who's not going to just choose them for, they have brown hair. No, you want them to say, I don't care if you have brown or blonde hair. I'm going to judge you if you're guilty or not. Should be a counselor too. I'm going to talk to you just as a normal person. And I think that's what we're missing. And I've noticed it in schools. There's no one really there who just has one agenda. And the ones who do are the ones who get prosecuted by the teachers, by the principal. And they're the ones who get fired first. I've seen it. So it's sad.
Do you argue with your family a lot?
Why is he so squirrely? Why does he keep on looking over his shoulder? Is he waiting for the cops? Like, I look over my shoulder a lot, and I'm always looking for cops. I'm always like, if you ever see me at a protest or something, I'm always like looking over my shoulder. Keep your head on swivel. Why is this guy's head on a swivel? Is he afraid of someone attacking him? Is he actually a secret liberal? What's this guy's deal?
I do argue with my family. Actually,
Are you guys cool after though?
So it's funny. My grandparents actually live with me. One knows I'm here, one doesn't, because that one would not accept it. The other one actually said, well, I don't pay your bills. Do what you think is right. And I said, you know what? I love you. And that is what we should have.
Which one doesn't know you're here? What's their name?
My grandmother.
Sorry, Grandma, if you see this, You mentioned a jury. I think that's a good point to transition over. I want to ask you, do you think Donald Trump's convictions were justified?
So I will be honest, I was not able to watch a lot of it. In spring, I coach a lot, so it's mine. So I'm thinking, I do research it, but I don't give an opinion if I don't know the answer. So my thing is, you know what, if they found him guilty, they found him guilty. But here's my question. How many others are guilty that aren't being persecuted? Why are we going after him now, but we didn't go after him 30 years ago when people wanted him to go? Joy Bayer. They all liked him. You see clips of them going, you should run for president one day. Why now? Why are we doing this now? Yep.
This because first of all, the obvious is this crime was only committed a few years back, but to the point that nobody else is really charged with this. Michael Cohen, the person that was his co-conspirator, his fixer, also got prison time for this. So they do charge for this. And when people say that there was a Democrat DA who ran on prosecuting Donald Trump, I understand what they're getting at, but I feel like when you're convicted by a jury of your peers who went through the process of voir dire, they were vetted by Trump's own lawyers. I feel like it's a fair verdict, you know?
And that's the thing. That's why I'm not saying much about it, because I didn't look into it.
And I respect that.
This
I like
lady
And
has
that's
no
the whole thing. I'm not
integrity.
going to sit there and be like,
So the reason why I wanted to watch this is because it says that she changes her mind in seconds. So I'm really curious. You know, outreach is outreach at the end of the day, isn't it? Isn't it? They did go after him years ago. Yeah. And also he happened to have been president, and they didn't. There's a long-standing tradition of not prosecuting sitting presidents. Well, now the Supreme Court says it's perfectly okay for him to have done anything, but not that crime. That crime is different. But some of the crime was committed while he was president. So now they have to figure out how the sentencing is going to work, and it's just been postponed until mid-September.
oh, he was innocent. Now, when people ask me, I'm going to vote, I'm saying yes, because I don't really know. But I do know what he has done, and I do know what he's going to do. And honestly, I'm just...
What's that?
How do I explain this? I'm going to say a word. I'm never going to vote for somebody that I haven't looked up things about. Even though I'm Republican, I still vote person. I did vote Madeline Dean. I don't like Madeline Dean now, what she did to Abington. We all hate her in Abington, but I still voted for her. You know, I met Biden years ago when he was vice president. He saw our shirts that we were military wives. He gave us a hug in the middle of the parades, thanked us. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. But I don't like his politics. So I can like the person all I want, but if you're not going to do anything for myself, or especially my kids, I can't vote for you.
Do you think Biden's a decent human being? Because
when I met him, yes. I mean, to stop and sit there, and because we had Marine Wives shirts on, and to stop and just give us a hug, Secret Service, like, you got to go. And he's like, no, I'm going to hug. Great person. Is he now? I don't know. But he scares me when you see him on TV. I don't know if that's just news media.
Are you going to watch the debates this Thursday?
I am. So that I'm going to watch. We actually will be at the shore, and I said, no, this is where I am. I think it'll be really, I like debates. Debates to me actually show a person. Do I think questions are always fair? I can't judge that. I wish they would ask the same question to both right away instead of going, we're going to ask you this one and this
That's
one.
politics,
because it's kind
man.
of like, okay,
what an
well, they
embarrassing
can answer
style of
that
reason to
also.
like someone. That's
Do you think
politics.
there's a chance that people are setting this bar so low for Biden that all he has to do is just kind of walk over the bar and clear it? Because I was talking to someone earlier, and they think Biden's going to like shit his pants on stage. And it's like, if you're setting the bar that low, you're bound to be disappointed.
So the funny thing
Well,
is,
he
I went
did
to
shit
school
his
here in
pants.
Philadelphia. So a lot of my friends are mixed, Democrat and Republican. It's funny to see how many it's funny to see how many of my friends right now who are Democrat are undecided. And I think that's hilarious because I'm like, why? And they were like, honestly, we're just not doing well. I just had to spend $6 on eggs. And now, again, I'm also Ukrainian on my family.
$6 on eggs.
Really?
So that's the other thing. We're
This guy has a heart emoji on his arm.
big with the war, but my own family in Ukraine even wonders, why is the U.S. sending so much money? So when my aunt in Ukraine is asking that question, makes me wonder, why is a Ukrainian asking that?
Well, there's a slight correction. We're not just sending money. A lot of the aid we send is in the form of like old stockpiled military equipment.
A lot of the Ukrainians don't even know exactly what we're given. They watch the news also, and it's money. We're signing a bill for this much. So they don't understand that. But my aunt literally...
Who gives a fuck what they understand? The government with using the weapons, they understand.
...is questioning it, that the aid is more coming from the U.S. Why? And it's funny because... you know, we heard before this all happened, a lot of connections. So my question is, why are we doing that when right now my ex-husband has to fight for veterans, for military benefits? My uncle had Agent Orange, just died 3 weeks ago, had 10% military disability. It's not okay from what we're seeing.
So I think the argument you're making
all over the place, like fucking 10% militaries. What the fuck are you talking about, lady? Agent Orange? That shit's fucking Vietnam era shit. What are you talking about? What the fuck's that got to do with Trump and Biden?
is totally valid. I think military veterans should absolutely be taken care of in our country. But I think that is, exactly. I think that is very separate from the Ukraine problem because we're sending, like I said, we're sending a lot of military equipment, old tanks. Yeah.
Do you know how old some of the equipment is that they're using?
A lot of it's from the 90s.
No.
Nearing its expiration
My
date.
husband was in Afghanistan. They were using weapons from World War II. My ex-husband also had to switch to a whole different unit. He wasn't allowed to do things because he was
from World War II. What the fuck are you talking about? They were using weapons from World War II. What? What weapons were they using from World War II? We don't even have any fucking ships still out there from World War II. What the fuck are you talking about? They were using weapons from World War II.
is about to end a service. There's a lot of things that people don't see on that end. So when I sit here saying we shouldn't send money over there, well, there's a lot of countries that need aid. So if we're just going to sit there and give it to one country, there's other countries who are going through.
Ukraine is in a very unique situation. So do you support Ukraine's right to push back against Russia?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm very big with that, and I do think we should help out. However, when our own country is diminishing, there's going to be a point, if we keep going this down this road, there's not going to be any money to send anyone. If we can't even
This guy's like ready to get shot. He keeps on looking over his shoulders like he's gonna get shot.
take care of
it's not just money. Sorry, to correct you, it's not just money.
But anything. But even that, you have to have money to have that. You have to have money to keep that up to date. You have to have the money
The
to
argument
support.
that I always give is like you said, we're giving old military equipment, and after we give that, we can actually boost the American economy by rebuilding it, creating new manufacturing jobs. And then in the process of doing that, we get to protect Ukraine, our ally, from Russia, who's going on this World War II style invasion of annexing territory. It reminds me of 1939. So I just don't like that not your mindset. I don't like the mindset of some people where it's like, we shouldn't do anything. It kind of reminds me of Hitler invading Poland in 1939.
We have a cousin who was fighting. We haven't heard from him in 2 years.
Really?
So I'm for it. Trust me, I have a bumper sticker that says I support Ukraine. But my question is, do we have money to keep giving them? We can send military money, military equipment. When we're sitting here, and when my husband didn't even have equipment that was off of World War II, what are we really having? That's
My husband didn't have shit since World War II. That's so fucking stupid. Well, that was enough. Thank you, everybody. Thank you especially to Kathy Skywalker, Jackie Boyle, Carrie, and Walking Away from Omalas. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Thank you, VFFs. Thank you for allowing me to serve this community. And thank you for not killing all of the carnivores. Don't forget, it's not that hard to not abuse animals.
It's so hard to not abuse animals.
Carnies can fuck themselves. Go fuck themselves.
This is a shot of all vegan.